It's my pleasure today to share with you the progress of our AHEAD project on investigating online harassment in Sri Lanka. So, as the slide indicates, the title of our project is An Investigation of Online Harassment Among the Young Population in Sri Lanka, Development of a National Strategy to Combat Online Harassment. So, these are the team members of our project team. We have some members from SLIIT. We also have some members from the IT industry of Sri Lanka, and we also have some foreign collaborators in our team. Okay, so before I talk about the current status of our project, let me give you a brief introduction to the project. Let me talk a little bit about the background, the objectives, and so forth. So, as we all know, in the past few decades, we have seen an increase in the use of internet and the ICTs worldwide. And along with this increase in the use of ICTs and the internet, there has been an increase in cybercrime, including the type of crimes which are called online harassment. So, online harassment is a broad range of behavior, and it encompasses a broad range of criminal conduct, such as cyberbullying, cyberstalking, revenge pornography, sextortion, and so forth. So we've seen this increase in cybercrime and online harassment worldwide, and we also see a similar tendency in Sri Lanka also. So in Sri Lanka too, we've seen an increase in the use of internet and ICTs, and along with that, we are nowadays seeing evidence of an increase in online harassment and other cyber crimes. However, the true extent, the true nature and impacts of online harassment in Sri Lanka is unknown, because to date, no comprehensive studies have been conducted on this area in Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka also currently lacks a strong policy and a legal framework to address online harassment. So, so the primary research objective of our project is to develop a national strategy for effectively combating online harassment in Sri Lanka and proposing laws for enforcing the proposed national strategy. So we hope to achieve this primary objective by achieving certain secondary objectives. So in terms of the research framework, our research consists of 3 main phases. So phase 1 involves an empirical study. So what we plan to do in phase 1 is to collect qualitative and quantitative data relating to online harassment in Sri Lanka. So the purpose is for us to find out the extent, the nature, and impact of online harassment. So since we don't know much about it, we want to find out about its true nature in the country. Phase 2 involves a comparative study. So here we review the legal and policy framework in Sri Lanka in relation to online harassment, and we also review the policy and legal frameworks in several other jurisdictions such as the UK, US, Australia, Singapore, and India. So we are doing this comparative analysis in order to find the lessons that Sri Lanka can learn from these other jurisdictions, and also to find out the best practices that we can follow. So in phase 3, we hope to come up with a national strategy for combating online harassment based on the findings of phase 1 and phase 2. So this slide shows graphically the various stages of our project. So let me now share with you the current status of our project. So we are currently involved in work related to both phase 1 and phase 2. So as I mentioned earlier, phase one involves the empirical study. So in relation to that, we've prepared the questionnaire, finalized it, obtained ethics clearance. We've pilot tested it, and we've also translated it. And we're currently in the process of obtaining the services of a consultancy firm to collect data via an island-wide survey. And we've also obtained permission from the Ministry of Education to collect data from school children. So that's all that is in relation to the quantitative aspect of the empirical study. So in relation to the qualitative part, we've already conducted some victim interviews in collaboration with Sri Lanka SLIIT. So we are currently in the process of analyzing this qualitative data. Phase two, as I mentioned, involves a comparative study. So we've already completed reviewing the laws and policies in Sri Lanka related to online harassment. And we've also reviewed the legal and policy framework in US, UK, and India. And currently we are in the process of reviewing the laws and policies in Singapore and Australia. So I would also like to share some preliminary findings of our study with you. As I mentioned earlier, we pilot tested the survey questionnaire that we prepared. So for this we carried out this pilot study in SLIIT. So we deployed the surveys questionnaire to 196 students from SLIIT, representing different faculties and different years from first to the final year. And we analyzed the data that we collected from the pilot study, and here are some things that we found out. So the data analysis indicated that about 8% of the respondents had experienced online sexual harassment, and there was an equal percentage of male and female victims. And we also found out that the most common forms of online sexual harassment experienced by students were requests for sexual favors and using offensive sexual language in social media. And another finding was that WhatsApp and Facebook were the most commonly used platforms for carrying out online sexual harassment. So those are some preliminary findings that we got from the pilot study. Then we've done some work related to the comparative study as well. So as I've indicated earlier, we've reviewed the laws and strategies and policies in several jurisdictions, including Sri Lanka. So this review revealed that, okay, Sri Lanka obviously doesn't have any targeted laws on online harassment. However, we do have some criminal laws in the Penal Code and in several other acts such as the Anti-Ragging Act and the Obscene Publications Ordinance and so forth. So some of the provisions in these acts can be applied or can be used to prosecute instances of online harassment. But the problem is these laws are not capable of capturing the whole gamut of instances, instances of online harassment. So we have these piecemeal legislation, and that's not a very good approach when it comes to combating online harassment. So we also looked at the laws and policies in countries like US, UK, Australia, and India. Now, most of these countries, especially UK, US, and Australia, have targeted laws addressing specific aspects of online harassment. They have laws on cyber stalking. Some of them have, laws on laws addressing image-based abuse, such as revenge pornography, sextortion, and so forth. And India also have some provisions, not many, but a few. So these countries are actually, they have a better approach than us when it comes to addressing certain types of online harassment. So we looked at, we analyzed the laws in these countries as well, but the analysis revealed that, they too have drawbacks. There are gaps in those laws as well. So nobody seems to be having the perfect law. However, we can use these laws to improve our legal framework. So those are the preliminary findings of our comparative study. So this slide shows the key performance indicators we've promised. We promised to submit certain number of abstracts, journal articles, and so forth. So far, we have achieved 6 KPIs. We have presented some conference papers, and we have also submitted 3 journal articles which are currently under review. So thank you very much for listening. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.